Well, folks, welcome to this week's edition of Roundabout Sports presented by Interstate 70 Sports Media, where our passion is our profession. I'm the maestro Jeremy Carp alongside the man who thankfully is not the bastard son of Don Deckinger, Hollywood James Knox.
That
How
was
you
a
doing,
good one
James?
too.
Thank you. I'm gonna have to start really looking up more and more umps to get it going, keep it going every week. But how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. It's like I said, it's kind of been a week, and before we get started, I kind of throw this on you here, but we've kind of dealt with the passing of a lot of guys in the sports broadcasting world. I think it needs to be said that we're all kind of mourning the loss of 105.7 the points, Jeff Burton, this week. So he
Yes,
unfortunately
absolutely.
lost his battle with prostate cancer at a very young age, and if you've ever met Jeff Burton, and I got to meet him a long time ago at like one of the first point fests I ever went to. And one of the guys, just one of the nicest guys ever. And he was kind of one of the guys that treated you like the celebrity. It's like, hey, I want to take a picture with you. And he was just, I've never met or never talked to anybody who had anything bad to say about Jeff. So I just wanted to put that out there in the universe here that we all are mourning the loss of one Jeff Burton.
Absolutely. He is, I consider him a member of the St. Louis family. And beyond that, and, it's definitely heartbreaking, and the outpouring of support that he had
Right.
when it was announced that he had cancer. And, it was just unbelievable. But yes, it's definitely just an absolutely terrible loss. He will truly be missed, and condolences go out to his family, his friends, and everybody that loved him.
Yeah, I was listening to 101 ESPN on Monday when they broke in at 3 o'clock and kind of told everybody the news, and of course, obviously, we had it on our page shortly after that. Just listening to guys like Brad Thompson and Jamie Urish try to come back on 101 and try to continue on. You could tell it was rough, and
It wasn't easy.
no, and I think it's similar to when the one and only a very unique personality and Chris Duncan passed away as well. I mean,
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
even though you knew it was coming, and I remember hearing that news first during a Cardinals game. It was September 6th, I believe it was, and Danny Mack was the one that told everybody, and it was just kind of like a kick to the gut. So, cancer sucks, and it's taken too many people way too early. So
It really has. And I'm thankful, guys like yourself who are a cancer survivor, thankful you're still with us. People like my father, cancer survivors.
right,
So,
no doubt.
very fortunate. So, with that, let's get this lighthearted part.
Yeah,
We gotta keep the positive energy going here.
let's get into it tonight. So
Let's get the heater turning up, because let me tell you, James, I have to ask you a question, and I'll do it without breaking any HIPAA laws here. But you take medicine in the morning
I
at
do.
all, as do I.
Hmm.
I guess unlike Fernando Tatis Jr., we know at least what we're taking.
Yeah, I know it's in my supplements, and I know what each pill I take is. I also know I wouldn't use
You got
anabolic
talking
steroids.
points, and
I was gonna say I also know I wouldn't take anabolic steroids to treat ringworm either.
yeah, that's another thing. Like, if there's anything, because I remember I dealt with, oh my gosh, it was something similar, impetigo. I dealt with
Okay,
that in high school, which is sort of
right?
like ringworm. It's a skin condition. Yeah,
Yep.
my doctor didn't say, here's a bunch of steroids, juice up, that'll go away. That is not how it goes. Like,
Oh man, I need to go see Fernando Tatis's doctor. I'm trying to get in better shape.
I'm trying to hit two. Yeah, I'm trying to hit 2 grand slams in one inning. See him running like, oh my gosh.
God, can you imagine? His father's got to be ashamed of him. Oh my
His
God.
father really does. But you know
Oh
what?
my.
You had mentioned it to me earlier. I mean, you talk about if his father's ashamed of him. His team and it was like his teammates, the executives, and guys like or Alex Rodriguez and Pedro Martinez. They didn't
Yeah.
just throw him under the bus. They straight threw his ass under it, started it, backed it up, drove in front of him again, and sailed off into the possibly getting into the Hall of Fame sunset.
It's the that's the same bus that Blues fans start up when they start up the panic bus in the winter time.
Yes, that's the one where they lose one game by 2 goals because of a defensive issue, and then they want to trade half the roster.
Including Jordan Bennington, and they want Craig Berube fired too.
Yes, they want Craig Berube's head.
So you make a good point, Jeremy. Let's say you and I are teammates, okay? Let's say we both played football, so we'll go with that analogy. Okay. So I'm going to say you were probably a defensive lineman. I played both sides of the ball. I was a wide receiver and a defensive back because of my size.
I get it. Yeah.
So right. So we're teammates and we lift weights every day together, and kind of like the movie Varsity Blues, we share medication.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what it is because it's prescribed to me, and you want some of it because it's going to help you not feel pain on Friday night. God, I miss Friday Night Lights. Anyway,
I
so
do
too. Totally sidebar there. But so you're going to ask me, hey, what is this? Because let's just say in high school football anymore, athletes do get drug tested because for obvious reasons, because things have changed a lot since I played and since you played. So, you're going to want to know what it is before you take it because you don't want to put yourself in jeopardy of not being able to play. I just don't understand how Fernando Tatis Jr. doesn't know what he's putting in his own body. Because how do you not know there's not going to be an allergic reaction? How do you not know there's not going to be some kind of side effect that, because he was rehabbing from a motorcycle accident to begin with. And I think that's obviously why A.J. Preller and Mike Clevenger made the comments they did about, he's got to grow up and he's got to mature and it's not just about him. You and I are teammates. We're going to be what I refer to as accountability buddies. So apparently Manny Machado was that for him. We go back to last year in the dugout whenever they were playing the Cardinals at Busch and they had the huge nuclear blow up and Machado and Tatis Jr. get into it. And, apparently Machado tried to be that for him. But look, I can only hold your hand for so long before you're going to do what you want to do regardless. It seems to me like it would not surprise me. And it's going to be a hard contract to move, but it wouldn't surprise me if A.J. Preller doesn't try to move that contract because it seems to me like they're done with him.
They've their patience, if nothing else, is definitely worn thin. And the attitude of Tatis has not helped. This is the team that probably 3 weeks ago, we literally were sitting here and talking about how they have become top contenders. They just acquired Juan Soto. They just acquired Josh Hader. I mean, this was a team that was going all in for this year, if not also for next year.
Right.
And now the pieces are starting to just as fast as they were building up, starting to crumble down. And, you start to wonder, were they in over their heads? And at what point do you say, look, Fernando Tatis Jr. is an extremely talented kid, extremely talented ball player. But at what point do you have to see he's not worth the trouble that he brings? Because he's missed this entire season up to this point, and he's missing the rest of the season.
Right.
And some of next season.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely less than 80 games left in this season. So he'll be missing, probably 40-ish games next year. So I just feel like there is a lot of question marks, and obviously there's still a month, 2 months left of baseball. But when the offseason starts, the Padres are going to have to start asking themselves a lot of questions in regards to Fernando Tatis Jr.
Well, and what I find interesting too was, Machado was asked, he goes, hey, what do you think? He's like, look, we've been winning without him here. He hasn't played all year. So, we've got a great group of guys in here. We don't need him. And I'm like, whoa, I mean, the Cardinal players like understood this is totally a different scenario, but in the sense that the players weren't available. Obviously the whole Arenado and Goldie issues when they went to Toronto to play because neither were vaccinated. It wasn't, hey, we're playing good baseball without these guys. We don't need them. It's like, look, we'll go up there and play our 2 games. We can't get them. We can't wait to get them back in the lineup. Can't wait to have them back in the clubhouse. And then that's when they ultimately went on their 7-game winning streak. They took 2 or 3 from the Reds, and then you swept the Cubs and you swept the Yankees. So, and maybe there's a different clubhouse dynamic in San Diego. Obviously, all clubhouses aren't the same. They're not all created equal. But you're right. If I'm San Diego, I have to look at the contract I've given him, because if I can move that, then I take a good chunk of that money and I pay Juan Soto in 2 years, and whatever I have left, if I have anything left, I look at another player to bring in to try to give me similar production. You're right. Fernando Tatis Jr. is a generational player, but I don't need his generational problems that come with this production.
And I think that's the perfect way to put it. Generational talent, but generational problems that are coming alongside with it. And also, he's a liability in the field.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
While we're sitting here thinking about this, does Tatis Jr. We were talking about generational players. He kind of comes off to me as entitled. Maybe it's because he grew up in the clubhouse because of his father. Maybe because everybody and their mother wanted him when it came to the draft. You watch just as much sport, just as many sports as I do, and dive in just as much as I do, if not more at times. What are your thoughts? Because to you, does it seem like Tatis Jr. has a little bit of that entitlement bug to him?
I think a little bit. I think that he wants to be the superstar among stars. You got yourself a trio now of Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, and Juan Soto. Now that right there is a dangerous trio in baseball, Yep. And just like last week, we were talking about the NBA top trios, big threes. Well, there's a big 3 for you right now. And looking at Manny Machado, Tatis Jr., and Juan Soto, each one of them are generational players. But
Agreed.
Tatis Jr. is one that I feel, because of his father being in the big leagues for a long time, and of course making a historic achievement that probably will never happen again. I do feel
off of Chan-Ho Park.
Off of Chan-Ho Park. Oh my gosh. Nonetheless, yeah, I do feel there's a sense of entitlement that Tatis Jr. feels. And, everybody who's been involved in sports will tell you this. Being an athlete is just as much, if not more, mentally, more mental as it is physical,
Yep.
And it's funny, the late great John Madden always said 90% of the game is half mental. And it's a perfect way to put it, because there's so much to it. So if you let your position, your stardom get to your head, you're not going to thrive. And
we've seen that.
That's the path that Tatis Jr. is going down.
Right. And we've seen that with a lot of young athletes. That's kind of why I thought, maybe, just sometimes how he acts, and obviously the childish arguments he's gotten into with Manny Machado and some other the veterans in that clubhouse, and then Eric Hosmer before he was moved. It's like, look, not everybody is trying to pick on you, or not everybody's trying to criticize you. You have to know as an athlete, especially a young athlete, that they're trying to help you out. It really did. A-Rod, one, for him to come out and say, hey, look, I'm surprised that these guys haven't learned from the mistakes I've made, but what really surprised me was when Pedro Martinez came out and said something.
That was a big one. He blasted the whole organization, not just just not just Tatis Jr. He had a big time rant about the whole situation.
And that's the one I really didn't expect. Well, and I didn't expect A-Rod either, because you would think, oh, why would you open your mouth? You were suspended and then you were banned from baseball because you didn't learn from your mistake the first time. But, it's the idea of like, it would have been something like if Barry Bonds would have come out and said something like, hey, look, I'm in the record book for the most ever career home runs. But look, man, and it's not like Tatis Jr. even plays in a big media market to where they would be all over him for this. But nationally, he has been drug under the bus, and he deserves to be. Quite frankly, deserves to be. If you can't learn from your mistake the first time, okay, so what have we talked about before? The first time, okay, maybe a fluke. Yeah, I got into a little bit of trouble. That would be the motorcycle accident. The second time, this, and you're suspended 80 games the rest of this year and 40 next year, it's not a fluke. That's the beginning of a trend. And it's a $315 million trend.
That's the big tag right there. The fact that the price that's paid for Tatis Jr.
I mean, with all due respect, you're going to pay me $315 million? I'll live like a fucking nun for the rest of my life. I won't get in any trouble.
Yeah, my friends and I have discussed that. Like, we talk about all these big contracts in sports, things like the contracts Tatis Jr. gets, Soto, even guys in the NFL like Patrick Mahomes and like DeAndre Hopkins and Debo and Kyler. I say to myself, shit, just give me like $500,000. Just give me the minimum that you can pay an athlete. And yeah, I'll follow the rules. Like, shit.
I was talking to somebody the other day. It may have been earlier today. Hell, I don't know. My days are running together. And I was complaining. Oh, I was picking up said supplement earlier today from my pharmacist. She's a huge Milwaukee Brewers fan. And so she was at the ballpark this past week, and I said, hey, how'd you like your trip to St. Louis? And she kind of looked at me, with that look. And I said, boy, I sure enjoyed your trip to Milwaukee. Or your trip to St. Louis. And she goes, yeah, we like Saturday night. I said, yeah. I said, but the wrong damn pitcher was in there. I said, pay me a fraction of what you're paying Gio Gallegos, and at least I'll get it over the plate, and I'm not going to put one belt high to Hunter Renfroe. I was like, hell.
I was at that game. Don't remind me of that. I even told my dad, I said, look, as soon as Gio came in, I'm like, yep, that one's over.
But when he missed on the pitch before, I sat here and I go, oh, hell. I said, Gio going to do Gio things. And it's funny that you commented that, because I said the same thing like 15 minutes earlier, and he hit that ball, and I said, that ball game's over. The bad thing is you were able, if you don't allow the Wong base hit, ultimately you tie the game, you go into another extra inning. But, I think the one thing, and we'll get back to Tatis Jr. here in a minute, are we sure Albert Pujols is 40 years old?
Well, I mean, to be fair, yeah, I was going to say, well, first he's 42, so I'm definitely not sure about that, but
right.
To be fair, I don't even think Albert's sure of that.
The ball he hit on Sunday, the second one, 443 feet, 114.4 miles per hour off the bat. When he hit that ball, I don't remember what I had in my hands, but I threw it up in the air. I know I had a mess to clean up afterwards, but so back to Tatis, and I'll tie a bow on it because I think I've ranted on enough. We've given this clown too much time as it is.
Yes, we have.
I hate to say this. You remember how good Jeff Kemp was with the Giants, second baseman?
I do.
Yeah, his career went downhill after a motorcycle accident. I'm just saying. And if you remember, he had a no motorcycle clause in his contract, and it caused all sorts of problems. To me, Fernando Tatis is becoming the problem child of the San Diego Padres.
And if that's the case,
oh my God,
I'll say this. I mean, he's 23 years old. I'll say this. If he does become the problem child of the organization from here on out, it is a damn good thing they signed or they traded for Juan Soto when they did.
That will be the most expensive mistake they've made. The only mistake that anybody in this world could make that would cost more would be divorce.
Yeah.
And this may be a nasty one to watch.
Yeah, this divorce between what could lead to a divorce between the Padres and Tatis Jr. could be a very big one.
I just kind
But
of hope it does because it takes away a contender for a playoff spot with the Cardinals.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's why I was
You
also
wanna,
mad they traded Soto to the National or to the Padres because
you
it kept them in our league.
you want to sink your ship? That's fine. That's
Yeah, exactly.
not my monkeys, not my circus.
Exactly. It's not the Titanic. You can be the Titanic all you want. We'll be a Disney cruising party. So
I
with
like that.
that,
Brother
one quick tidbit of information. So the Cardinals, last I checked, are winning, but Jordan Montgomery finally has an ERA with the Cardinals, and it hurts. He pitched, oh my gosh, two basically. I'm not going to say perfect games, obviously, but shutout games. He hadn't allowed a run in his first two starts with the Cardinals. The first person to do that in their first two starts with the Cardinals, since Al Jackson did that in 1966. But yes, he's finally allowed a run. It was obviously bound to happen. And also, here's the thing.
That's a great tidbit of information, by the way. Way to pull that one up. Well done, Jeremy. Well done.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, my man. That one kind of caught me off guard.
Here you go. You've been an umpire a long time. It goes without saying. You've been doing this a long time. You love what you do. Have you ever been crew chief back behind the plate for a game that ended in a walk-off hit by pitch?
I have.
And
I've also had one that ended up on what was supposed to be an intentional walk, and the pitcher threw it too close to the plate, and the girl went oppo taco. And by the way, back to the Jordan Montgomery thing, he just had one rocky inning.
Oh goodness, that's great.
What? I'm just saying. Yeah, I actually
some of the outs. I saw a couple of the fly outs he had. I guess they just went a little high.
Well done.
Thank
okay,
you.
I see where we're going here. This is a Colorado 3. If you're not watching the Cardinals game, they're playing the Colorado Rockies.
Look at that.
Hey, that's the old school.
That's the old school
Bronco.
I got a lot of amazing family and friends out in the Denver area, and I plan on seeing them again.
You went Denver Broncos tonight. I got my Savannah Bananas back-to-back Coastal College championship shirt on.
I still can't get over the time Bill Lee stepped off out of the stands. 75-year-old former Major League Baseball pitcher, and proceeded to strike out whoever was the opponent in that game.
Yep.
And he was just a fan. And Bill Lee was just a fan in the stands drinking.
Yeah. He's 72, 73 years old, something like that.
He's like 75. Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah, I think he's close to 80. So there are two teams that the Savannah Bananas field. They have their Coastal Plain League, which is college. It's a college wooden bat league. And that's where they're the back-to-back champions of. Plus, I love it. I just love the slugging banana. It's good potassium for your diet. And then so they have another team, which is like their premier team, which plays the Party Animals, which is like the banana ball games. And those games are really cool. They have a 2-hour time limit on them. You've seen where the guy steps to the plate with a bat that's on fire. By the way, cheap plug. Welcome to Banana Land, the documentary, the five-episode documentary on the Savannah Bananas starts on ESPN Friday night. Trust me, Jeremy, I've been to a lot of sporting events. I've been to Blues games, Cardinals games. I've been to Billikens games. I've been to the old barn. Yeah, right. I've been to Rams games. I've been to Colts games. It was the most fun I've ever had at a sporting event.
Perfect.
But so anyway, so back to what we were saying. Have I ever had one on a? Yes, I have. And that last night was something else. So I'm on my way home from Webster County. I was calling middle school ball here in Kentucky last night. And I'm like, okay, so I'd been kind of watching the game. I was the base umpire, so I was watching the game in between innings. So I was like, man, we had a 3-0 lead. Cardinals blew it. Rockies take the 4-3 lead on a Charlie Blackmon base hit, which, by the way, I wish he would get out of Colorado because he is as good as Nolan Arenado, but nobody will ever know that because he plays in a bullshit baseball market. Sorry, it's just the truth. So I'm like, okay, so it's 4-3. Obviously, they tie it up. Did Tyler O'Neill get the base hit to tie the game up at 4? I believe he got –
because Tyler O'Neill was the one that got hit to walk it off.
Well, I'm talking about to tie it at 4. I'm not talking about before we got there. It was either him or Arenado. I can't remember. Either way, 4-4, you get into the bottom of the ninth, and then Dinelson Lamet, which I wish the Brewers would have kept if he's going to pitch like that. So he loads the bases, and I'm like, okay, so the first pitch to O'Neill was a ball, and then it was a 1-1 count, and he comes in and he hits him, and I'm like, that's beautiful. I hit my pitch to lose the game. That's fine with me. And can we talk about how good Jose Quintana has been as a Cardinal?
I think both him and Montgomery have been absolutely stellar because they were brought in to basically do the job that guys like Dakota Hudson have not been able to get done. They go deep into games. They can make it to the 7th or even beyond. They get the strikeouts. Remember, we had talked a couple weeks ago. Cardinals are among the bottom 5 in strikeouts by pitchers.
Yep.
And I mean, what was it? Quintana not too long ago or I think Montgomery's last outing, he had 8 strikeouts.
He did.
And Quintana gets about 6 or 7. And he's not usually a strikeout pitcher.
Wait. Are you telling me that I get to defend John Mozeliak again? Wait a minute. Are you telling me I get to defend Mo again? Do I really get to?
You get to.
See, here we go. Him. I talked about it last week with J.A. Happ and John Lester last year. You win 17 in a row. You don't get to the playoffs without those guys. And now Quintana and Montgomery are filling the roles of Dakota Hudson and whoever else. I do wish on nights that Jose Quintana pitched, quit putting Jordan Hicks into the damn game so it blows him getting the win. Can we get the man a win? Please.
You know what, honestly? I say that about Wainwright because it's not fair. A guy gets 7 no-hit innings, and then you get him out, get the bullpen out there, and then he gets no decision.
He went 9 innings in his last start, and Gio blew it in the 10th.
Yeah.
The man went a complete game. The only mistake, and hell, he had a no-hitter through 6 2/3. Get the man some damn run support. This isn't Jordan Binnington. You got to score goals for him.
Exactly. Wainwright is 8-8. His ERA that night dropped from 3.41 to, I believe, 3.23. And he gets a no decision. Like, are you kidding me right
now? Can I ask you another question while I'm pissed off here? How come a 40-year-old can go out and throw 110, 120 pitches, but somebody who's 25 can't go out and get through 6 innings or see a lineup 3 times? What are we doing here?
The only way they see the lineup 3 times is if they look at the card before the game.
This bullshit sabermetric stuff is ruining the game of baseball.
It is, and that's why these complete game records, all these ones about durability, any record in baseball that involves stamina and durability will never be broken.
You ain't touching anything Bob Gibson and Nolan Ryan have done.
Well, shit, Bob Gibson had more complete games than he even had wins. And I'm telling you right now, I would bet every penny that I have in saying that Cy Young's 749 complete games aren't going to be broken in the next 100 years. Because
you sir are correct. And look, so I was talking about that with a well-known baseball coach in our area last night because he's a first base coach for one of the softball teams. Matter of fact, Greg Pirtle is in record books here in the state of Kentucky, and he coached baseball for the longest time. He's like, look, he goes, when he would coach, and this is high school, you would have guys that, you would play 2 7-inning games, a doubleheader in a day, high school wise, and these guys would throw 12 innings of the doubleheader. And, he goes, you just can't do that anymore. Obviously, there's pitch limits, and we know more about rotator cuff and labrum injuries now than we ever did. And you see that reflected by the Little League World Series, which started today. And, I was watching a game between Tennessee and Massachusetts. A kid throws 40 some odd pitches, but they have a 2-hour rain delay. You're not going to send them back out there just because you don't want to risk the the rate of an injury. But you're talking about these guys that, are making millions and millions of dollars a year and are supposed to be in the best shape of their lives athlete-wise, but you can't send them out there to throw 85, 90 pitches. And I'm like, I'm playing MLB The Show, and I'm like, oh, you're up to 130 pitches this start. Guess what? I got to get 3 more outs, and you're still pitching well. I'm not taking you out. While that sounds absurd, and you would never do that in real life unless you're Edwin Jackson, you're looking at, what's the difference here? I mean, I just don't understand the idea of, well, the eye test doesn't count anymore. Well, that shouldn't be the case.
So next week, this kind of is a plug for next week as well. And I think, and the only reason I'm going to tie a bow on this now, because next week I know there's going to be a lot that goes into this.
Yeah.
Sadie Blaze is going to be our guest next week. He's a softball Hall of Famer, big in the wrestling industry, and so knowledgeable about baseball.
I'm looking forward to this interview.
Oh, the number one thing he had told me about a lot of this when it comes to baseball and why pitchers don't go deep into games, why just when the way it is now as opposed to then, conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said. He told me. He said the conditioning now, is not nearly what it used to be.
So to follow up with that, remember Brad Thompson? I saw him at this was a banquet. This was a couple, some years back when he pitched, actually still pitched for the Cardinals. And, he made the comment that guys like Greg Maddux and John Smoltz, and even going back to Chris Carpenter, Darryl Kyle, rest in peace. Those guys would come into camp already in shape. Now pitchers come into camp and have to get into shape. I think we're seeing a prime example in Jack Flaherty, who's trying to come back in rehab for the 758th time this season. So, and it's frustrating. If I expect you to be an ace or to carry this pitching staff, you better be in shape in January. The prime example of somebody who still does that is Uncle Charlie, number 50, number 50 in your programs, number 1 in your hearts, Adam Wainwright. He's the only one that of anybody I've seen so far on this staff or heard that they quote unquote, to use the cliche, come into spring training in the best shape of their life.
He is an ageless wonder. And honestly, another prime example of somebody, Justin Verlander.
I was getting ready to say it. By God,
Verlander,
get out of my head, Jeremy.
What's funny, and I love Ben Verlander, his brother, who's also a baseball analyst.
Yeah.
And he always, and it cracks me up whenever he talks about his brother, Justin.
I know.
But the truth of the matter is, Ben brought up a good point. Justin should seriously be considered for the AL MVP award.
Agreed.
In addition to the Cy Young Award in the American League.
I agree.
Because the year he won the MVP award or the Cy Young Award last, his stats now are better than they were then. And that was 11 years ago. Which, oh my gosh, you realize how old we are? Justin Verlander winning 11 years ago, and then Wainwright.
If I was married to Kate Upton, I'd stay in good shape too.
Yeah, you know what? I couldn't blame him. So with that, we're gonna shift gears from the baseball diamond to the rough and tough grass and turf of the National Football League. Folks, we are in the middle of preseason right now, and training camp is winding down. Preseason's in full swing, and we are almost at the regular season.
Yes, we are. September 8th, Bills and Rams. Hang the banner. Hang it.
Bills and Rams is when it starts. Oh, my God.
Run it back.
Run
it back.
All right. Now, you know that during training camp and off-season, teams hold joint practices.
Oh, boy.
And no, if Josh Gordon's there, that's a different type of joint practice. But
oh my God.
I had to. Anyway.
Well done. Yes.
Thank you.
We're on a roll tonight.
I love it.
Oh God, Rocky Mountain High.
The Rocky Mountain High. There we go, folks. Well,
Oh,
no, but
geez.
speaking of which, joint practices are when two different teams
Right.
hold the practice together. We had the similar thing when I was in high school. We'd have like jamborees and scrimmages,
Yep.
at like Fort Zumwalt East or something.
Yep. Yep.
And anyway, there's a lot coming out of those joint practices right now, most notably from the Carolina Panthers and New England Patriots scuffle that went on. It was an all-out fight that happened, and they play a preseason game this Friday night in New England.
I can't
And
wait.
it was the second day in a row the teams fought.
Do you see where
Um,
Ed McCaffrey, or not Ed McCaffrey,
Christian
Christian McCaffrey
McCaffrey.
was at the bottom of one of the piles in that. He hadn't been able to stay healthy the last 2 years, and he's the one that ends up with a 300-pound lineman on him.
Well, yeah, and he's the one that's always ranked as, and when he's healthy, he's top five. Hell, when he's
Oh yeah,
healthy, he's top three. I'm not gonna
he's
argue
hell
that.
when he's hell when he's well, but he's always sick.
Yeah, it's all right. So here we go. He's hell when he's well, but it's hell because he's not well.
Yeah, there you go. That's one way to look at it too.
And joint practices were also between the Saints and Packers, the Bucks and Titans, Niners and Vikings, and Lions and Colts.
They got into a
And
scrap today too.
they did.
Matter of fact, they got into a scrap while Pat McAfee, his show was out there on location, and Reggie Wayne, the retired Colts wide receiver who's now a coach for Indianapolis, was throwing hands as well.
Yeah, it's not, like I said, it's not something that just happens by the players. Like you said, coaches
No,
are definitely wants to get involved, and sometimes it's just in the heat of the moment, adrenaline type thing. But other times, I mean, these guys are absolutely kicking each other's asses.
well, there was actually an inter squad fight in Rams practice day between Aaron Donald and Rob Havenstein, and
To St.
Donald,
Louis, folks. Let's go, baby. Bring back the
right,
St. Louis, folks.
Donald ripped Havenstein's helmet off and threw it. And everybody's like, oh, start freaking out. Look, if that's an inter squad thing, that's a good thing, because it's hard to raise your competition level if you're scrimmaging against each other. So that means that they're going all out. They care. We've seen, Dan Campbell versus Reggie Wayne. That would be quite funny. Although I'll tell you what, Dan Campbell start biting kneecaps. Yo, I'm not afraid. Look, that's one big white dude. I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh, Dan Campbell. I'm going Dan Campbell the whole way.
I am two dudes built like a shit brick house.
Mark put out there, my dad put out there that Pujols is 42. Oh, we know he's 42, but he sure don't play like he plays like he's 25. I tell you.
And he's swinging the bat right now like he's trying to hit everything to the arch.
Yeah, and let's just say thank God that you don't have a bat for Dan Campbell versus Reggie Wayne, because that would just end terribly. So, I mean, but no, absolutely. Like these, and I think it's only going to get crazier because the season's getting closer. We are less than, let's see, it's what, August 17th right now? So you have just a few weeks away from September 8th when the start of the regular season. So the Bills and Rams.
I gotta poke you a little bit here. Did you see your boy Deshaun Watson's performance from the first preseason game?
He was a little rusty.
Little?
And by a little, I mean rusty is in a car that hasn't ridden in 50 years.
What, does he know how to assault everybody except for opposing defenses?
Ooh.
Too soon?
I'm not even going on that one.
That was a bit rough. I'm going to hell from that one. That was a bit much.
Yeah, it's not well because you're going to hell on that one.
Well, somebody's got to install. Somebody's got to install air conditioning there.
Something's going to happen. And look at this. Yeah, Jags history brought it up perfectly. He went 1 for 5 for 7 yards. But guess what? Guess which team still got the win? And that's right, Dog Pound Nation, baby. Ride until we die, and at this rate, I'm probably going to die soon with it.
Well, we beat the Chargers and didn't play any starters, so I'm pretty happy with that.
I was going to say, you take what you can get in preseason. Plus, I saw MJ Emerson literally steal a catch away from a Jaguars receiver and get a pick six out of it. That alone made my night. And you know what? One more thing with the Cleveland Browns. I want to tell you, at least with Deshaun Watson, it's been over 40 something days since Judge Sue L. Robinson ended her hearing on the
God, has it
matter.
really been that long?
It has
Damn.
been over 40, or not 40 years. I'm almost
It feels like 40 years.
It does
Good
feel like
Lord.
40 years, but it's been over 40 days and still no official final word. What it seems like now is that the NFL is not going to get their year that they want.
Right.
So what it seems like is going to happen is anywhere from 8 to 12.
So Deshaun said he'd be happy with 8 games and a fine. If I'm the NFL, I probably am going to settle for that.
I would settle for 8 years or not. Damn it. I'm getting my years and my days mixed up.
Boy, you want to talk about the Fernando Tatis being a bad contract? Deshaun Watson, 8 years? Uh-oh.
You know what? The difference is, well, you know what's funny? Deshaun Watson's at least just 26 as well, so he's still very young, thankfully.
You better make that phone to San Francisco for Jimmy G.
What's the point of having Jimmy G for a few games? Because first off, San Francisco has no leverage, much like Baker had no leverage with the whole Cleveland deal with Baker. Jimmy G, there's no leverage there for San Francisco because they know they have to dump him.
So here's the thing, and I heard this the other 2 days ago from Peter Schrager, and then we're discussing this. And Schrag said that if the Niners have to cut him due to salary restrictions, that they could see the Los Angeles Rams picking him up to be Stafford's backup. If they do that, then the Rams are loaded, even if something were to happen to Stafford. But the talk is that Seattle would try to sign him too. Well, there's no way in hell San Francisco is going to let him stay in the division.
That's why they would not. That's why the Browns didn't cut Baker, and why I told people they would not cut Baker, because
I remember
you cannot risk cutting your quarterback
and him end up in Pittsburgh.
And him ending up in Pittsburgh, which definitely needed a quarterback, and still kind of does. And
I think Trubisky does a good job there for them.
I think he does a decent enough job. I got Pittsburgh finishing last, and I know soon, within the next couple of weeks, we're going to have an episode where we're going through how these teams are going to do, and we're going to definitely need some backup on that one because we can't do that load just by ourselves.
So that's where I'm going to try to work on getting former NFL show host for ESPN 101 ESPN's Anthony Stalter. I'm going to try to get him and try to pull him in, because I'll tell you, he did a fantastic job with Mike Tannenbaum on ESPN Sundays, and he could really help us break it down. And I think that's what we need to do probably over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Really go down and break down by division, kind of put out there our records for each team and see where we go there. And yes, if you're watching, we're kind of doing some future show prep here on the air, but hey.
Exactly. Well, we're giving you all the previews.
We'll break down the fourth wall.
Yeah, we'll break down the fourth wall. Well, you know what? We don't even have the wall. We don't.
I'll be your CM Punk.
Yeah, exactly. We love you all because we love you all tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in to Roundabout Sports so far this evening. And we have a comment by Jack's History that I'm glad was brought up.
Yeah, I saw this.
Okay, 2 reasons. Number one, because in a few minutes we'll be going on to our main topic for the evening. And also, yeah, who wins the game first, Jags or Bears? I mean, look, we cannot underestimate the Jaguars. And also, I'm not going to lie, the Bears are kind of a mess right now. They are actually the Chicago Bears are not. I mean, they could very well finish last in this division this year. I think, because I personally think Detroit can finish second.
I think Detroit is much improved. I'm with you.
So I think who wins the game first, Jags or Bears? We're gonna leave that up to you all to decide, because I am not sure yet. But yeah, Jacksonville's playing Washington week 1, and I honestly think they'll beat Washington week 1.
I don't. Not on the road. I think the Jaguars have a better. I think they have a better chance of winning their first game at home against the Colts on week 2. They play Indianapolis much better at home than they do on the road.
They play division teams well. They do play the division well.
They really do, and they're a better home team than they are a road team. And you're talking about a team like Indianapolis, who's a dome team, having to go to Jacksonville in week 2 in the humidity of Florida when it's still hot. That's where I see. I don't care if Carson Wentz will be the quarterback. I think Washington, their defense. Look, Trevor Lawrence hasn't shown me anything, and I know Travis Etienne is back. That's fine and dandy, but you got to understand, while the Commanders have a good run defense, they do expect that that Young is going to be back in that defense for Week 1. Look, Washington is one of those teams that I think could be sneaky good and finish second in the NFC East. I think it's a toss-up between them and the Eagles because I think, you look at it, the Giants are terrible. Daniel Jones, I think, has a setback. Saquon Barkley, I think, is done as a running back. I hate to say that because I really like to watch him run. But then you've got the Cowboys, who everybody has these high expectations for, and everybody wants to still call them America's team, or Cowboy fans do. Mine neither. So don't underestimate Washington. The Washington Commanders, or the football team, or even going further back, right? Yeah. They are always a team that if they're going to win games, it's early in the year before teams figure them out or other teams figure out who they are. I could see the Jaguars winning Week 2 at home, but put it this way. You can shine up a piece of crap as much as you want. Ultimately, it's still a piece of crap. I don't think the Jaguars win more than 5 games this year.
Well, this is the thing. So, you're talking about placing a bet on, certain teams and what to do. There's just one problem, James. If you or I want to place a bet, we can't do it in our states. You can't do it in Kentucky. I can't do it in Missouri. And that, folks, is our main topic for the evening that we are introducing here on Roundabout Sports. And that is basically why we are titling this show The Gambler. Because
no way to hold them.
I'm going to put this up here to really, this is a 2022 map of the United States. Obviously, the states haven't changed in the past few decades, but 2022 from AmericanGaming.org, and the states that are in red, the actual pure red, it's all legal as far as sports books, as far as, daily fantasy sports. You want it, you got it. The ones that are kind of in the half red, highlighted, but not fully red, such as Nebraska, Kansas, Florida, Maine, even Ohio, which to me is a little bit of a surprise. They're the ones that are working on getting sports gambling legalized all across the board. Now, James lives in Kentucky and I live in Missouri, and notice there ain't a damn thing on there because you can't do sportsbook betting in those states, among like Texas, Oklahoma, Idaho, whatnot. Like, are you absolutely kidding me right now?
It's all garbage. All garbage.
And
Ohio becomes legal September 1.
Yep, there you go. September 1st, Ohio. And apparently in Missouri, they were putting it on the legislation talking about, but then the pandemic hit, everything got held back. And it's interesting because for a state that is so one party based in its chamber, they don't agree on much.
Right.
That's the interesting thing. And that is and look, the reason I bring this up is, believe it or not, there is a lot of economic benefits to legalizing sports betting.
Damn right there are.
I mean, according to a recent study, the total economic output representing sales of businesses in the U.S. is expected to be $41.2 billion. Now, legal sports betting operations, including wages, salaries, benefits, and tips, they're expected to support $11 billion of total labor income. $11 billion, James.
It's the same as having a professional sports team in your city. You think about this in terms of like what those employees make and the money that goes back into the economy. See, the thing is like all of these, and Missouri does the same thing. Oh, well, our lottery proceeds go to education or go to, infrastructure, whether it's building roads or highways or railways, whatever. But all these legislatures blow the smoke up your ass because they want to say, oh, well, we're worried that it could cause problems and people are going to become addicted and we're going to I don't see it limiting alcohol.
I was just going to say, I mean, they let people drink.
So
let people smoke cigarettes.
Right. So here's the thing. I love to put down a little bit of cheese on some bets. I love it. I love parlays. Parlays are my thing, especially during the NFL season. So I have to drive across a bridge, across a river into Indiana to do so. Our state, or our Commonwealth, because we're the Commonwealth of Kentucky, our legislatures are too busy arguing and fighting each other to do anything to better the whole of the state. Everybody's at each other's throats. And the thing is they've talked about, oh, well, we're going to put it on the ballot and, talk to your congressman and talk to your, I'm like, my voice doesn't mean shit. So it's frustrating because the Kentucky and Missouri lotteries both say that the proceeds go to education and this and the hell. There's commercials for it during Cardinals games for the Missouri lottery. They're one of the biggest advertisers with the St. Louis Cardinals. And then you look at a team like the Chicago Cubs, which if they've done anything right, they've put in-game stadium betting in Wrigley Field. You look at the NFL and out in Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. You look at, when we went and saw the Rams and Colts play last year in September, they've got a William, I can't think of his last name. It's going to sound terrible. I think it's the William Tell Casino, or anyway, there's sports book in there. And it's funny when you brought this topic up to me because my buddy last night, Ronnie Hetty, who I was calling ball with, both big Rams fans, I know, shoot me again. So we're sitting there looking at the odds for what it is to win the division and, looking at other teams and stuff like that. And we're like, well, if we want to do this, we have to go across the river to do it. Well, he lives 45 minutes south of me. So, literally when he comes up, he's got to drive an hour either way. So when I go call ball in Indiana or when I go call ball in Tennessee, that's when I look at my bets and try to do it then. But, it's tough. Should it be legalized nationwide? Yes. Because like we talked about last week, and we made the jokes about marijuana because the Josh Gordon jokes and everything else, the reason that the NFL quit testing for it was because it was hard to regulate because different states had different laws. This is one of those things where it should be legalized nationwide because there is a betterment for it. Yes, there are people that are going to be addicted to it and that are going to go bankrupt and stuff like that. That's why they bolt the damn windows shut in hotels in Vegas because people lose all their money and jump out of the damn thing. But that doesn't stop them from drinking and committing the other 6 deadly sins while they're out there. I mean, yes, it should be. Yes, it should be regulated. Yes, there should be a way to do it. But ultimately, yes, it should be legalized nationwide because the money that the sports books and the lotteries and everything make, then if Calvin Ridley can bet, we should be able to.
Yeah, and the difference is we wouldn't
that's great.
And even then look, even Calvin, and let me point this back out. It's interesting you say that because if you go to the map, look at another state that you're not allowed to bet in. Put
Georgia.
Sportsbook betting in. Georgia. Calvin Ridley's on the Atlanta Falcons. Now, if he would have just been in another state, if he would have just been in Tennessee, one state up, boom, he would have been just fine.
Here's the other thing. Pull that map back up real quick, if you don't mind, sir.
No, I got you.
Look at Florida. Not operational. It's legal, but it's not operational. However, what's the mascot for the Florida State football team?
This is for the Seminoles. Yeah.
The Seminoles.
Yeah.
Seminole Nation has a huge casino in Florida where betting is legal.
That's true.
I mean, just like Connecticut, before sports betting was legal, you had the Mohegan Sun, another Native American-owned casino. So what's the difference? I mean, I know that the Native American nation, they have their own set of rules and other guidelines, which are acknowledged by the U.S. and state governments. But I can bet on horse racing here in Kentucky, which, God, you better be able to because you'd have a lot of pissed off people come Derby time.
That's what I was wondering. Like, how are you able to bet on the Kentucky Derby if you literally don't have the legalized gambling?
The principle doesn't change. It's still gambling. I can bet if I pull up my TVG app, there's a free plug. You could advertise with us. Could be you. So I could pull that up right now, and I could pull up a horse race in Australia, and I could bet on it. Or in Dubai, I could bet on it. But if I want to pull up and do in-game betting on the Cardinals-Rockies game right now, I can't do it. That makes absolutely no sense to me.
Right.
None.
And yeah, or even, and we'll go even away from the big four for a second. Talk about an MMA or UFC fight, boxing, like it. And it's interesting because in Missouri, they'll let you do daily fantasy sport. You can do daily fantasy sports stuff with like DraftKings and FanDuel and stuff. It's the sports books. It's the over and unders. It's the money lines.
Yep.
That's where they draw the line. So let's put it this way. If I want to enter, like, do a daily fantasy sport, and I'm not talking like your regular fantasy football or thing like that. I'm talking about, like, I guess, enter with all these entries and prize payouts for out of 700 people or something. You can do that. But
you can do that here too.
Yeah. Which honestly, that type of thing can be confusing as all hell for me.
Yes, it can.
So that's usually why I don't do it. I'm just for wanting to do the sports book. But if I want to go for a sports book, say week 1, Browns are playing the Panthers. If I want to place a bet on one of them, I got to go to East St. Louis, Casino Queen, and place a bet, or anywhere in Illinois, honestly. So, but they have a Casino Queen. They have their own DraftKings sportsbook place in person. So that's usually the hot spot when it comes to gambling. And it's like with Missouri, it just amazes me because when you think of the show me state, and I'm putting it in quotations, because the show me state should be the one like, here, you do this, I'll do this. It's supposed to set the bar.
I agree.
Instead of us setting the bar, we watch. I changed the damn nickname to the stubborn state because everybody else has to do it before Missouri does it. And
literally, it's the state of misery.
I'll call it the bandwagon state. That's how I like to look at it. The bandwagon state. Whatever the majority of the other states do, like, you know what? Screw it. Good idea. Like, but it amazes me the most because you would think, and this is another thing, it contributes to the sport's popularity. Now, we're not saying Friday nights go to your local high school and place $50 on number 17 at quarterback. No, not at all.
But did you know, I'm glad you brought that up, did you know there are some states, including Tennessee, where betting on high school sports is legal?
I guarantee you Texas has to be one of them.
But on the map
is not.
But on the map, they're not. None of their sports book is legal.
I mean,
not that you couldn't find a legal bookie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like, okay, that is surprising. But see, that's what I'm saying. Like, you look at the southern state. All right, I know we've been pulling the map up and down constantly, but I'm going to pull it up once again. Look at the southern. Damn it! Look at the southern states here.
Yep.
I mean, the only two that are in any way really like fully live and legal are Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, and then to an extent
Tennessee
Florida.
And North Carolina.
Yeah, Tennessee and North Carolina, and then to an extent Florida.
How can you not have
Alabama not there?
Right. How can you not have big time sports betting in SEC country?
That's what I'm saying. Like, literally, do you not realize how many people would have won money if they bet on all these past seasons regarding Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide? Like, that's big bucks right there. I mean, I can't stand that. We're going to win. But no, and on top of that, it can be regulated. It can be taxed.
Right.
And last night I was on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Love you guys. And I
I
was
watched some
talking
of it.
to, Big Sexy Chris Rodell, the voice of
Mhm.
Dynamo Pro Wrestling, and we were talking about the Missouri State Athletic Commission and how they're taxing on certain things involving professional wrestling and whatnot,
I
and
saw that.
how
I saw that part of the podcast.
yeah, and it should not be dissolved. But like we said, it shouldn't be dissolved. It should be regulated. Well, sports book gambling can be regulated. There's a reason multiple states have it legalized, and it's live
Well,
and operational.
it's just like back again, another comparable, just back to the marijuana thing. States regulate that as well. You look at a place like Colorado that last year alone, they I think they grossed somewhere in the vicinity of $12 billion in marijuana sales. And look, I mean, there's no different than that. If you're going to add like a percentage, like maybe like a 1.5%, so if I want to bet $10, it's going to cost me $11.50 to ultimately do that or whatever, or 11.05, whatever it is, that's fine. But here's the thing, because the people who are hardcore gamblers or like to throw cheddar on some of these games when they get the chance, they're going to pay it. And it's like somebody who's addicted to marijuana or tobacco or alcohol or whatever else it is, whatever their vice is, they're going to pay whatever it is so they can continue to do so. It's just frustrating because, again, if I'm watching a game and I want an in-game bet, which I would do if I had the opportunity to do so, I don't. And it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to get up and drive, 30 minutes round trip to go place a bet. I mean, that's dumb, especially when you're allowing the daily fantasy stuff like on FanDuel now, to do that. Sure, it's no different than playing daily fantasy, because you're still with a payout there. I mean, you're still winning real money. So I think it's just a technicality. I don't even know. I think there's probably a better chance that marijuana gets passed nationally before betting does. And it makes absolutely no sense.
And there's another thing, and I want your opinion on this. Do you feel that, because I do, but do you feel that by legalizing sports betting, by the sports books and whatnot, by just making it live and operational and legalized, whether it be on a federal, like nationwide level or just state by state, do you feel that it's a solution to game fixing, especially at the collegiate level? Because, okay, let's look back at days where athletes don't really make what they earn now. I could understand why this would be as much of an issue, but nowadays, or why it was as big an issue. But nowadays, we're going to just harken back to the beginning of the show. We're talking about the contracts of guys like Soto and Tatis. Do you honestly think they're going to throw games when they're making that type of money? Hell no.
No.
So why? So I feel, and, like you said, so like I'm saying, the college scene's different. Athletes don't really get paid in college, at least not yet. But that's more the reason to legalize the sports betting, because legalizing it, organizations can come out of the shadows and give transparency on the operations. Right. So, and it makes it easier for the government, which I definitely, obviously, everybody has an issue with the government, but it makes it easier for the government to look out for malicious activities, because all these hidden sports books and all these organizations are in the shadows because they don't have to be in the shadows anymore.
So it's funny that you bring up that point, because I was thinking about that. So here's how I'm going to preface this. So in the next couple of years, the Major League Baseball PA and the owners and the umpire union want to bring in robotic umpires. I hate the idea.
No, really?
But the point being is, let's say on any given night, I put down $1,000 on the St. Louis Cardinals to beat the Chicago Cubs. If I'm a hacker, can I hack into MLB system, and can I hack into the robot umpire? With the way technology is, seems far-fetched. It's no different than paying off Donahue with the NBA when he was calling playoff games. Look, it doesn't solve anything, because it's the idea of like say a criminal creates, or he commits a crime, we're going to pass more laws to curb said crime. But if a criminal wants to break the law, he's going to find a way to do it. If I don't think gambling curbs the idea of throwing games, because if somebody's going to be that, if somebody's going to point shave or whatever else, they want to do it, they're going to do it anyway. I think it puts every game under a bigger microscope because there's so much money on sports. But even without legalizing it nationwide, there's millions, close to billions of dollars every sports season that is bet on these games. So if it's not happening now to public knowledge, is it really going to happen then? You make a very good point. I see where you could be coming from. I just think there's so much that goes into that it could be going on now and us not ever know. I mean, depending on some of the NHL referees you have, I wonder on a game-to-game basis if games aren't being thrown. But I mean, I also think because there is so much money being bet that those games are under such microscopes that it would make it harder to throw a game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of in a, no pun intended, but kind of in a roundabout way.
Right. And there you go. Keeps on turning. But see, here's another thing. I think it should be legalized because, while some of the numbers we presented at the beginning of the segment were from just a few years ago, it doesn't change the fact that by legalizing open sports books across the states, it adds new jobs. It means new jobs at the casinos, at standalone sports books for odd makers, analysts, cashiers, even security. I mean, and getting more, and with the taxes, it gets more money for the state.
Right.
So you'd think, with politicians that love their money, holy shit, we get more money. Let's tax this. Let's do this. Let's regulate this. And I don't think the issue, I don't feel it's because people can get addicted to it. I don't feel like that's the reason it's not legal.
And to preface the conversation we're having, we're not making this a political subject whatsoever. So please don't think that we are, or tune out because you think that's what's going on.
Right. We're not bashing.
Yeah. Right. And I don't think it matters on what side of you are on the aisle here. You're right.
Exactly.
If they cared so much about people becoming addicted to things, they would actually get together on certain things and figure it out. The money is all about it, because I'm with you. If Rand Paul or Mitch McConnell or Greitens or Pritzker or Tom, Dick, Harry, Sally, I don't give a damn who it is, can figure out that we can put $2 more million worth of straight, in the words of Randy Moss, straight cash, homie. If I can put that in my pockets, I don't care.
Right. And at the end of the day, and once again, I'm going to just point back, more regulations. Regulation and the ability for states to offer help to those. And believe it or not, all right, I'm going to throw in another point here. This one, by some chance, if somebody in one of our state congresses hears this would be a perfect selling point. Because obviously, while we've mentioned a lot of pros of, the point of this is to legalize it. We're not to encourage the action of it.
Right.
And that's the whole point. Like, we don't go on here. We're not like, and that's why we were talking about that, why we were saying, well, people are addicted to drinking and addicted to like nicotine and things like that. And why we're trying to advocate that if you do need help, get that help, because there is that help out there.
188 bets off.
188 bets off, gambling problem. They put that in every single gambling commercial and radio ad and everything for a reason. All the police drink responsibly. All the Surgeon General warnings, everything. Those are out there for a reason, which comes to this point that I have. If you legalize sports betting all across the board, you can use a lot of the regulation money to help those suffering from addiction.
Good point. It won't.
I no, but like if it becomes an issue, there's numerous resources. There's online guides, and look, I'm gonna say this right now. There's a national problem gambling hotline. It's 1-800-522-4700.
But
And
here's the problem. The people who do need help, I will bet you, I'll bet you everything I got, they're not going to look for it. And here's the other thing. So, the money from the lottery is, we, use it to help educationally and help infrastructure wise. No, they don't, because the roads I still drive on are bumpy and holy and nothing's been repaired. And if they do, they've got 4 jobs going on at one time that take 10 years to get it done and they're still not done. Or, hell, look, you think things have gotten better educationally or the whole education system? Hell no. I'll tell you where that money's going. It's going into some, somebody in the good old boys, group that, they're lining their pockets with it. So it doesn't change anything. Just legalize it. God knows you love to write new laws that have absolutely no freaking bearing on anything. Regulate it, write a law, pass it through legislation, and, happy betting. Get on with it.
Right. It's about self-control. It's about, choice.
These states have no clue, Jeremy, how much money they're losing out on because they won't pass it.
They won't pass it. It's so funny. The 2 things that a majority of states will not pass legalization for are 2 of the biggest money makers that you can have: gambling and weed. It's interesting how that works, but those are 2 of the biggest money makers in the states that they are legal in. And I, once again, cannot think of a better example than in Colorado.
Kentucky's biggest cash crop is marijuana, but it's not legal. They grow it for medicinal purposes and export it to the other states. How much money? Just think about people who deal with chronic pain. Okay, I deal with fibromyalgia. Okay, a lot of that has to do with the fact that I've had so many surgeries on my body. I have nerve damage, all this other stuff. Boy, I could benefit from that. But the idea is we're going to export it to other states. Well, you're getting an export tax and that's it. If you were to actually maintain it, keep it in state, and then export as well, you're forcing farmers, cha-ching, to grow more, which means they're going to make more money.
Right.
There's going to be more readily available in state, cha-ching. Insurance companies are going to make more money. God knows they love to do that. Hell, look at your insurance premium. So it benefits everybody top to bottom. The problem is the people at the top they're so damn stupid, they can't see the forest through the trees, and everybody down suffers.
Well, yeah, and I want to throw this number out there. Well, I got a couple numbers for it. So, once again, I mentioned Colorado. So, as of March 2022,
okay,
since the launch of when you could legally do the sports betting in Colorado, their total bet handle is $6,553,121,434.
Okay.
Of that, the state tax revenue is $17,741,332.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah. And the revenue kept by the sports books is, I believe, let's see. Yeah, here we go. I had to make sure it's the right one. But the revenue held by the sports books is 408,000. 408,398,717. You would think the numbers that are taken from just Colorado, and that's just an example, would be used as a selling point to a lot of the states that could definitely use the money. Because let me tell you, where I live right now, you mentioned about how it's at once, literally just down the street from where I live, they are working on they're working on revamping the highway and the interstate and all this stuff, and they say it should be done in 2023. Meanwhile, when they worked on a road out in St. Peters, Missouri, it took them about a year and a half to get it done, and it
Right.
felt like it was never getting any progress done because MoDOT does not know how to just do this, then that. No,
Yep.
let's do half of this, half of
Yep.
that, a third of that, and we're going to call it a day. Have fun with your shit work commute, guys.
Yep.
That's literally, and it's probably how it is in Kentucky too.
Yeah, the KYDOT is no different. And you were
Yeah.
reading off those numbers, and I'm sitting here. The only thing I can picture in my mind is Scrooge McDuck before he goes to bed diving in coins, like the
Yes.
beginning of DuckTales. And I don't understand. And we could sit here and argue about this, and we're obviously on the same side when it comes to this. I don't see any downfalls. You worry about addiction and this and that. One, your politicians aren't worried about that. Two, if they were, they would be trying to curb other things. But it's no different. But here's the problem. Because you're not legalizing it nationwide, you're looking at people going to undercover bookies and placing bets. And this is where you do have a bigger chance for money to be put here and there and to exchange hands. And you have the bigger chance of getting a game thrown, whether it's anywhere from high school to college or the NFL, because, hey, I've got a bet with my bookie and I need this to go or I need this to happen. And it's stupid and it's something that we shouldn't have to worry about. But, I don't know. Like, it took so long for us to have the conversation about legalizing marijuana nationwide, and we're still not to that point. I think gambling is further down the road. In a lot of these states, they blame it on the pandemic for kicking the can down the road. But I don't know if that ever gets just panned out. I just really don't.
Well, you want to hear? Okay, so I mentioned that in Colorado, it was over $6 billion in revenue for sports betting. You want to know what it was for? Hang on 1 second. I have to make sure. Because, in Nevada alone, as far as gambling revenue.
Oh, goodness.
You ready for how much Nevada got?
Yeah, I've taken my heart pills today.
Yeah. $13.43 billion. That in 2021. That's how much Nevada made.
Billion with a B.
Billion with a B. That's how much Nevada made at casinos. And here we go. So the U.S. sports betting revenue by state. And you know what's funny? People wonder, wait, where's some of these states at? Oh, simple. They're not on there because they are being babies and not legalizing it. But okay, so I mentioned
there are two states I'm really interested in, and they're both border states to where you and I live. I'm curious to Illinois, and I'm curious for Indiana.
Okay, so
because Illinois actually borders both Missouri and Kentucky, so I'm kind of curious to see.
Holy crap! I'm like lost in these numbers. Okay, so this is according to Legal Sports Report. So just throwing that out there, and it was last updated today, August 17th. The handle for Illinois, and for those wondering, the handle is the amount wagered over the time period.
Right.
So this is from June 2018 to now. Illinois has the handle is $13,654,979,061. Of that, the revenue, which is the amount of money kept by the sports books out of the amount wagered, is $987,487,037.
Is that good?
That's decent enough.
That's an honest day's work.
I mean, and then this is where it blows my mind because Nevada here, I think the other information was misinformed because the Legal Sports Report has it accurately calculated. Oh my God. I cannot believe I'm about to tell you this number. I literally cannot believe I'm about to tell you the number. And what if
$140 billion.
I tell you? No, that's I might have actually had a heart attack live on air if that was the case. No, but I will tell you, Nevada's not number one.
New Jersey.
So Nevada, for their total handle for the bets, 25 billion. And then number.
Bunch of
New
numbers.
Jersey, bunch of numbers in there. New Jersey, and I'm going to say the full one for this. New Jersey's is 29 billion. 96,843,485 over about 4 years and 2 months, just from sports betting.
Wow.
Now, we're not saying that Missouri and Kentucky can get 25 billion, but look at some of the states around us. Iowa, which has a lot less people in it than Missouri does, for over 4 billion on their total bet handle. All right, where you want to talk about Indiana, over 8 billion. Want to talk about Tennessee, over 5 billion. Pennsylvania was over 15 billion. I mean, the lowest state on here, and it's justifiably so. The only reason it's low is because not many people live there, is Montana. And even them, they made 88 million. So money talks.
Yeah.
Granted, for us, it just says goodbye, but it talks.
What I'm going to do is I want to see how much money was bet on the Kentucky Derby from Kentucky residents, because that would give you a pretty good idea of how much money could possibly be made in the state of Kentucky, just with that alone.
Yeah, and that's where when I found out about the fact that, the Kentucky Derby isn't exactly legally bet on in Kentucky the way it normally would be, I'm thinking to myself, how? It's literally called the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
Not the Pennsylvania Preakness, it is the Kentucky Derby.
Good night.
Uh-oh. This can't be good. So
Kentucky residents alone on the Kentucky Derby, these were bets that were made within a 24-hour 24-hour period before the Derby. From the state of Kentucky, you care to take a guess?
Oh gosh. I'm gonna just say 5 billion.
So in the 24-hour period leading up to the Derby, a total of $24.3 million was wagered. So $1 million an hour. In a week leading up to the Kentucky Derby, Kentucky residents bet more than $48 million on one race.
That lasts maybe 2 minutes.
Let's go with a 18-week NFL season. And that's not even including the playoffs. Major League Baseball season, 162 games, 184 days, not counting the playoffs.
Then you got hockey and add in basketball and all.
College football. Look, college basketball.
College basketball is perfect for Kentucky.
Right.
And then think about the states down south that haven't legalized the sports betting, and then put in college football, where literally college football is their sport.
It's their
life.
This is literally the definition of having fuck you money. And yes. these states will not legalize sports betting. They won't do it. I know a couple Kentucky legislator that it might be interesting just to try to get a quote for them, or maybe just 10 minutes on the show to explain why it hasn't been passed. This isn't a Democrat or a Republican thing. This is like, we're too fucking dumb to see what we're losing or missing out on thing.
And that's the thing. Like, we are not trying to.
Yes, we're not trying to politicize this at all.
No, because guess what? There are Democratic states that are in the same situation as Republican states, and I feel like gambling shouldn't be a political issue to begin with. It should be just a human self-control issue,
That's a good point.
Because when I do happen to go to like Ameristar or something, which I don't do very often, but when I do happen to go, I don't sit there and think, wow, look at that Democratic logo next.
That guy just won $25,000.
There
Must
isn't a
be damn
Republican one.
Republican.
There's no there's no elephant logo. There's no donkey logo. There's nothing like that. You
No,
know why? There's maybe the mafia logo, but not.
there's plenty of donkey logos. There's plenty of jackasses.
Exactly. So I just no, and it blows my mind that, and it was something as simple as saying, look, you have an account with DraftKings or FanDuel, two of the two most popular, basically.
Right.
There's a sporting event. The over under, maybe, and sometimes, and I don't even fully always understand the whole thing with the lines, but I do. Here's one. Say that the over under is like a 1.5. The spread's 1.5. On a football game.
Yep.
Okay, you're gonna take the over or the under on that. And you can't do something as simple as just say, I'll take the over.
Click. Yeah.
Just click on your app. Instead, here, gas is expensive as hell, even though it's been dropping, but I'm going to drive 25 minutes all the way across through shitty traffic, all the way across to Illinois, and, click on my phone. What I could have done without leaving the comfort of my own couch.
Well, I've done the same thing, and unfortunately, I'll continue to do it because, I have a problem. I've also won quite a bit. I cashed in pretty good on the Super Bowl. So, I think the most I've ever won on a sporting event was 1,300. But I mean, the point being is like, and that was just a random Sunday night game between the Rams and Bears. But
was that in 2019 or 2018? Okay, random side note. I was at that game with my friend.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was in Chicago.
Yes, I did bet on that one, and actually, it just panned out right. But unfortunately, it's one of those things where we can, like I said, we could probably argue about it until we're blue in the face. I just don't think it gets changed. I don't think it's anything that's going to move any quickly than what it already does.
I see it as 2024 at least.
Yeah, and we both know if it's something that legislatures don't want, they will gerrymander or filibuster as long as they can to get what they want. So, I mean, it kind of is what it is. But just like everything else, like I said, if people want it bad enough, they'll continue to do what they do. And that may be the other thing that politicians look at is like, well, we don't need to rush it because people are still going to get their fix. But the bad thing is the people of the states that they live in where the money could be beneficial, they just can't get their heads out of their asses to see what they're missing.
And that's interesting that you bring that up because the money, when you talk about, and this is one thing we have not said yet, and it's interesting. So you said you go to Indiana when you want to place a bet.
Yep.
And I was saying that if I did, I'd go to Illinois. And I'm thinking to myself, all that money you place while in those states literally could be going to the state you live in.
Right.
And I know we've talked about that a lot, but it's just how simply it could be broken down into the fact that, say I bet $10 on a football game. $10 could have gone to Missouri, or however much the money could have gotten taxed out of it.
Right.
Instead it goes to Illinois. And, so basically instead of it going to Cardinal Nation, it goes to the Cubby Club.
Ugh. Woof.
Yeah, exactly. That left a bad taste in your mouth.
Yes, sure did. I was looking at the Cardinals Rockies score. Jordan Montgomery's out of the game. He went 5 2/3, gave up 6 hits, 1 earned run. And funny enough, back to the point you made a long time ago when the show started, he had 8 strikeouts tonight.
There we go. Once again, 8 strikeouts. And, once again, 1 earned run. That's a pretty small ERA right there that Jordan Montgomery's rolling with.
Yes, his ERA when we traded for him was 3.69. That's overall between the Cardinals and the Yankees. In his time with the Cardinals, he's lowered it to 3.29. So he's dropped, 4/10 of a runs. That's pretty impressive when you're this far into the season. Andre Palante relieved him when an inning in the third. He struck out 1. Montgomery did throw. He threw 87 pitches. He's really efficient. This goes back to me being pissed off about what I was earlier. He threw 87 pitches. He could have thrown another inning. I'm so sick of this. Anyway, but
no, I get that.
We are in the bottom of the seventh. Cardinals lead it 3-1. Lars Nootbaar just got on base, so Brendan Donovan up with a runner on.
All right, I was gonna say.
Let's see how the Brewers are doing.
So here's a question for you.
You got it.
Does and folks, first off, thanks for tuning in to Roundabout Sports. We just got done with our big main event topic on the legalization of sports betting and whether it should or shouldn't. And definitely tune back in if you haven't, and you'll hear James and I's thoughts on it. I'm the maestro Jeremy Carp alongside Hollywood James Knox. And to delve back into a little bit of baseball.
Dodgers lead the Brewers 1-0 in the sixth inning.
So, you're talking about what's going on right now in baseball. And here's my question for you. Does Aaron Judge come back next year with the Yankees? He's going to be a free agent, but how do you let him go?
How Brian Cashman did not see this season coming for Aaron Judge, I do not know. If I'm Aaron Judge, boy, look, it's going to be one or two teams. It's going to pay him. And the other one is going to be on the West Coast. I don't think they can afford him. Really, they have nowhere to play him because, you can move Mookie Betts to center field, but Mookie Betts
is not going to the Dodgers.
Right.
It'd
be the only other team that could pay him. It'd be the only other team that could pay him, right?
Who's that?
The Dodgers would be the only other team that could pay him, right?
I feel like Judge would also be somebody who
I could see him going to a team in Florida, but the Marlins aren't going to pay him and the Rays aren't going to pay him.
Well, the Marlins definitely aren't going to pay them because they've been fire selling the past 6 years. And as far as the Rays go, obviously they're going to do whatever the Yankees are going to do whatever they can to make sure he doesn't go to a division rival. That is the number one rule I feel like that's probably the number one rule in sports. Don't let your departing players go to a rival.
Yeah.
That's just common sense.
Yeah.
And the thing of it is, he's going to win AL MVP, if not him, Ohtani.
He may very well, because he'll come up for a contract beforehand, and Scott Boras is his agent as well. Yeah. Aaron Judge may be the first $500 million player simply because Juan Soto would not be on the market prior to that.
And I'm not going to lie.
Talk about fuck you money.
Yeah, Aaron Judge ain't going to throw any games, I'll tell you that much.
No doubt about it.
So, it amazes me to think. So, the 1982 Cardinals hit 67 total home runs. Aaron Judge is on pace to break that entire team mark this year alone.
Have you seen where, the family of Roger Maris doesn't want Aaron Judge to break that record?
I can't blame him. I also think partially because of what Roger Maris had to go through when he was breaking that record. Right. You don't see anybody at Yankee Stadium throwing benches at him. So no. But anyway, I got
another. Let me ask you a question, sir.
All right, go ahead.
If you're Albert Pujols and you're two or three home runs short of 700, do you retire?
Yes, and I'll tell you why.
I know what he said, and I know what he told Alexa Dat. I'm just curious, if you are Pujols, do you hang it up? And I've got a rebuttal, so go ahead. I'll hang up and wait.
You have to. I'll tell you why. Because
of the farewell tour?
Of the farewell tour.
Yeah.
You cannot go to every stadium, get all of these lavish gifts and honors and tributes just to pull an old, you know what? You can't pull a Brett Favre. You can't pull a Ric Flair. When you say you're done, you have to say you're done. And also, I'm going to tell you another reason why. Because Pujols is still playing at a great level.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Pujols. I'm going to be honest. This is the perfect way to say it. I love Yadier Molina. I don't want Pujols next year, this year.
In the words of Bill
That's
Belichick,
the way.
in the words of Bill Belichick, it's better to let a player go a year early than a year late.
Exactly. And I think Pujols, I think at 42, look, do I want to see these guys, Yachty, Pujols, Wainwright play as long as I'm possibly allowed to be able to see? Yes. I'm going to be heartbroken when these guys no longer are playing baseball. I'm going to probably cry.
I'll cry too.
I'm going to cry. It's going to break my absolute heart because I was in fourth grade when Yachty started. I was in about kindergarten, if not first grade, when Albert Pujols started. Okay, and Adam Wainwright, I was in elementary school basically when all these guys started.
You can stop.
And we know where you probably were.
Yeah, you can stop. You be nice.
So what college were you in then?
No, shut up. You be nice. I was in Carbondale. Leave me alone.
Oh my God! I was joking. I thought you were in high school. Oh God!
I graduated high school in '99. I was in Carbondale. So here's what I'll tell you: if I'm Albert and I do come back, I would do the Roger Clemens thing and only play at home. But I'm with you. I would love to see him break it. If he does decide to hang him up, and I believe he will because he's a man of his word. I just want to see him pass A-Rod.
I was just going to say, yes. You know what? If Albert Pujols finishes the season at 697, I'm satisfied. I'm done. I'm fine with it. You know why? Because guess what? Pujols deserves 697 a lot more than A-Rod deserves 696.
My only problem is I wish Ali Marmol would put him in the lineup every day. If he's swinging a bat like this, he needs to play every day. Every day.
Exactly, because I'm going to be honest, and I know this may sound very selfish.
He's better than Corey Dickerson or any other option you have at designated hitter right now.
Albert Pujols 3 years ago is better than Corey Dickerson now. Okay?
True.
But this is my thing. If you're Albert and you're Ali Marmol, play him every day because guess what? What do you got to lose? Pujols is going to retire. If Pujols gets 700, he is damn sure going to retire. But I think he will anyway. Because he is very humble with himself and with his fan base and with just everything, with the game of baseball. He's not doing this for any other reason other because he knows this is time.
Right.
And I think also it gives him a greater chance to mentor the young guys that are in the organization because he won't have to focus on his own game anymore. He'll just get to focus on working with guys like Nootbaar, guys like Yepes, I mean, let's be honest. The future of the Cardinals looks bright if for nothing else because the three guys who are about to get statues outside that stadium are also going to be coaches in that organization. Actually, I take that back. Pujols and Molina will. Wainwright is going to be a kick-ass broadcaster.
If I'm Adam Wainwright too, and if I'm the Cardinals, there's no way in hell I let him walk away. If there's still an idea that he may want to come back and pitch one more year, I can't let. He's pitching way too well. He really is.
Yeah.
So to tie it all up, we've seen the impact that Pujols has already had as a coach on guys like Juan Yepes. And look, Nolan Arenado has even said he's gone to Albert. Albert is, he got the nickname Tio Albert from the Dodgers last year, which in Spanish, Tio is uncle. And, that's why everybody looks up to him like that. So I think he walks away. He's been a hell of a player, an ambassador for the game. He still does amazing things with the Pujols Family Foundation. And I'm with you. I like Yadier Molina. I love Yachty. Love him to death. At the end of this year, you celebrate him and you let Yachty walk. I think Yachty probably takes a couple of years off, comes back as a coach. Of course, he has his own record company in Puerto Rico. He owns his own basketball team. I mean, the man is extremely active and he's invested his money well. Pujols, on the other hand, I think he sticks around. I don't know. So when he left the Angels, did they void that the personal contract or personal services contract as well? Do you know that?
I'll have to double check. I thought they did. I
I
just
thought they did too. That's why I asked if you knew for sure, because Pujols is one of those guys where I could see him, wanting to stay involved with the organization. Obviously,
I think
his
I think the Angels did that for the sake of respect because I
gotcha.
don't think I think they did remove it, and
Because
obviously we can always fact check that and all that.
obviously Pujols isn't married anymore. He still has kids, obviously, and is probably going to want to spend time with them. But I think due to the fact that he's not married anymore, he probably wants to stay involved with the organization as much as possible. So I could see him taking over as kind of like what Juan or Jose Akendo did with being a spring training instructor, and then kind of being a traveling minor league guy. But
I'll tell you this: Pujols ain't going to be no base coach because he shouldn't be telling anybody about running and not running.
yeah, no doubt.
Well, James, I'm going to tell you right now, this has been yet another amazing episode. And do you have any final thoughts before we close it up for the evening?
No, I just it's been another fun show. We keep knocking these out. I think it's going to be more. It's going to be certainly things are going to be picking up soon. College football season starts in the next 3 weeks. I think following Missouri is going to be interesting. Of course, they just named their starting quarterback for the year. I really like Eli Drinkwitz as a coach. Obviously, as an Alabama fan, I'm shoulder high in the SEC anyway. It's going to be fun. It's going to be certainly a competitive season there. But obviously, we've got in 5 weeks from tonight, we've got preseason hockey starting. So it's going to get crazy.
Where's the time gone?
This year, and we'll go back, and obviously I tried to scrub 2020 from my memory, but it seems like this year has just flown by. It really does. I know we've both been extremely busy and have had good and bad things happen to us this year, but it does seem like the days this year have really flown by, and maybe it's because we're enjoying it too much. I don't know. I've had too much of a lot of things. Fun is not one of them. So
yeah, I was gonna say this year it's been full of blessings, but it's not always been full of fun. But you know what? We're both still here, and we keep on chugging along.
No doubt.
And like I say, I always say my favorite time of year is from Halloween to the end of the Super Bowl because that's when I consider the Super Bowl a holiday.
Hell yeah.
So you got Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, Hanukkah, the Super Bowl, all that good shit. You got October baseball before Halloween. Like sometimes it may even extend if scheduling gets a little crazy, if every series somehow goes to the full amount of games.
Right.
So yeah, these next few months are going to be absolutely wild. And folks, be sure to definitely tune in next week because let me tell you.
No doubt.
Sadie Blaze is going to be on. That's right. Sadie Blaze. And I cannot tell you how great that is going to be. That's going to be a great interview with him. He's a dear friend. And on top of that, you thought James and I knew a lot about baseball. Just you wait. So take two guys that know a lot about baseball and add in a third guy that knows a lot about baseball. Plus, he's a softball Hall of Famer. Hell, what more can you ask for?
Also, if you're interested in advertising with Roundabout Sports or Interstate 70 Media, Sports Media, get a hold of me or Jeremy. You can find us both on Facebook, direct message us or whatever, and get more details. We're always looking to grow the brand as well. I mean, we're looking for writers and podcasters, and I think it's one of those things where what you have to understand is all of us here at Interstate 70 Sports Media and Roundabout Sports, whether it's the Strike Zone, whether it's, the other podcasts we have going on, Andy's with Cardinals Off the Cuff, all of that. We're a big family here at Interstate 70 Sports. So we invite everybody in and, there's always more room on the bandwagon. So, I say if you have any special talent, I don't know if we have special talents other than the fact that we talk a lot. So we articulate well anyway. Hell, I don't know.
I was about to say, if anything, our talent is being able to articulate what we're saying.
Yes.
Whether it makes sense in our heads, but
yeah, right.
But no, absolutely. We'd love to have you aboard. We are on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Especially, we are working on getting more content on our YouTube channel. You can
Right.
find every episode of Roundabout Sports. You can find some episodes of the Strike Zone even on there, and we're working on getting every episode, as well as getting, and you can find Talking Dynasty on YouTube as well. And you know, Adam is just fantastic. Everybody,
We, we've got to get get him on the show. We get closer to football season. Got to get Adam
Oh,
on.
you already know. Let me tell you something, folks. Adam is the Chiefs to my Cardinals. All right. So he is the Kansas City guy who is definitely going to. You know what? It would be more fun. See, I bleed blue sounds so much better than I bleed red. I'm just gonna say it. Like that's what I love about the Blues. I bleed blue. So Adam's a member of Chiefs Kingdom. There, that's a better way to put it.
I hate that. We got to have him on the week before the Rams and Chiefs play.
Ooh, that
game.
I'm gonna have to be the moderator for that one.
We play the Chiefs at the end of November, and I want to go so bad.
Yeah, and for those wondering, the Chiefs play this Saturday at 3:00 p.m. against the Washington Commanders, and that will be at Arrowhead Stadium. They actually they lost to the Chicago Bears. I'm sorry. Just back on last Saturday, 19-14.
In the game where the NFLPA came out and said that the turf was so bad they should have never played the game.
Yep. Thankfully, the field's going to be a lot better at Arrowhead this Saturday. And let's not forget this not tomorrow, Thursday, but Thursday, August 25th. Look, I know it's not going to be a whole lot of starters, but hell, I don't care. The fact that the Packers are going to play the Chiefs in Kansas City, preseason or not, it's always electric.
Boy, we never talked about the fact that Aaron Rodgers called out his wide receiver core. Did you see that?
Yes. And honestly, we're going to say, there you go. There's a good thing to start it off for next week. So,
no doubt.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. But before we go, as always, James and I want to let you know that, there's mental health is a very important aspect of one's life. And, helping others is always a good thing, but never neglect yourself. And if you struggle with mental health issues or feel like you're struggling with them, first, you can always call the NAMI hotline, the NAMI helpline at 1-800-950-NAMI. It's open 24/7, 365. It's always available. And, if you're struggling with something such as like depression, you feel suicide, thoughts of suicide, the suicide in crisis lifeline, dial 988. It used to be a lot longer number. Thankfully, they've shortened it down to just 988. And it's open 24/7, 365, 366 on leap years.
Just remember that you can't take care of anybody else or make anybody else happy unless you take care of yourself. I know that people say that, sometimes you have to be selfish. You have to remember that your own mental health and your own mental well-being is just as important, if not more important than everybody else. To make anybody else happy, you have to make sure yourself is happy as well.
Absolutely. You are never alone, folks. Somebody out there always loves you. Thank you for tuning into this week's edition of Roundabout Sports. I'm the Maestro Jeremy Carp. He's Hollywood James Knox. And always remember, life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading. Good night, everybody.